In the FBI archives, this folder weighs more than 5 kilograms. 1,427 pages of surveillance, denunciations and conspiracy theories. While the world saw him as a kind grandfather with disheveled hair, Edgar Hoover saw him as a dangerous radical and spy capable of bringing down the foundations of the state. There were agents on duty outside his door, his letters were opened before the glue had time to dry, and his every step in the garden was recorded in reports. Why did the man who cracked the code of the universe itself become the main target for the intelligence services of the most powerful country? To understand this, we will have to erase the usual image of a genius from the poster and look into the drafts that he tried to burn. It all started not with formulas, but with a miracle in the palm of a 5-year-old boy. Little Albert looked at the trembling compass needle and felt a cold sweat. Something invisible, hidden behind the emptiness of space, controlled this world. While his peers were playing toy soldiers, he froze in horror and delight in front of a secret that the others simply did not notice. The school was a barracks for him, and the teachers were sergeants. He hated cramming and marching thoughts. "Your presence here undermines the class's respect for me," the Latin teacher threw in his face. At 15 he simply packed up and went nowhere, renouncing citizenship, German discipline and a predictable future for the freedom to be a nobody. Months of wandering around Italy became his first real university. Penniless, but with Goethe in his head, he learned to feel the rhythm of nature. Little did he know that in 10 years these walks in the sun would turn into equations that would stop time and bend space itself. In 1905 he is a technical expert third class, in the patent office, a man with a dubious diploma and a crying baby in a cramped apartment. During the day he checks the drawings of meters and pumps, and at night he steals time from sleep to enter into an argument with Isaac Newton himself. He has no laboratory, no assistants, just a pencil, a stack of paper and the audacity to challenge truths that have been considered eternal for 300 years. That year he published 4 papers that blew up science like a bunch of dynamite. He explained the nature of light, proved the existence of atoms and derived a formula that became the most famous in the history of mankind. But the world didn't even flinch. The revolution began in complete silence, behind the desk of a petty official who just wanted to know how God thinks. For 10 years he followed the wrong trail. General relativity was slipping away like a ghost, leaving him doubting his own sanity. While his colleagues were building careers on old dogmas, he was reshaping the very fabric of reality, fighting mathematics that refused to obey him. She was his right hand and quiet collaborator during his years of poverty. But when fame came, tensors and space curvatures took the place of love in his heart. Their marriage turned into a dry contract, where intimacy was replaced by lists of everyday requirements, and warmth was replaced by icy politeness. He offered her a deal that emanated either insane confidence or supreme cynicism. "I will receive the Nobel Prize, and I will give all the money to you. Just give me a divorce." He was not yet a laureate, the world still doubted him, but he was already trading his future triumph to buy freedom. In 1914, while Europe was choking in blood, and leading German scientists were signing manifestos in support of the war, he remained a black sheep. His pacifism was considered a betrayal, his silence in the office, cowardice. For him, national borders were just an absurd illusion against the backdrop of endless space. May 29, 1919. Principe Island. Solar eclipse. Arthur Eddington points a telescope at a black hole in the sky to test the crazy theory of a man from hostile Germany. If the stars shift, the world will change forever. If not, Einstein will remain just another dreamer whose name will be forgotten tomorrow. The stars have shifted. Newton was defeated. Overnight, a quiet professor turned into a scientific rock star. People stormed the halls just to see the man who defeated gravity, although none of them understood a single one of his formulas. But while the world applauded the genius, his own son was slowly slipping into the darkness of madness. Edward, a talented musician, whose soul could not withstand the weight of his father's fame. The diagnosis of schizophrenia became for Einstein the only problem that he could not, or was afraid to, solve. He could understand the birth of stars, but he did not know how to talk to his own child. He sent checks, paid bills at the best hospitals in Switzerland, but almost never visited him. The greatest seeker, the seeker of truth, found himself helpless in the face of human grief in his own family. This photograph became his mask. A shield behind which he hid his weariness from the autograph-hungry world and from himself. He played the role of the eccentric professor, while his real life, with all its mistakes, coldness and losses, remained hidden in the shadow of his dazzling radiance. Berlin, 33rd year. It was not just paper that burned in the flames of torches, but logic itself. The Nazis declared his theory of relativity, Jewish physics, and officially placed a reward of 5,000 marks on his head. He left knowing there was no turning back. Europe's greatest mind has become a refugee, a man without a passport, whose only possessions are an old violin and a stack of scribbled drafts in a suitcase. America greeted him as a messiah, but a different cold awaited him outside the front doors of Princeton. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover personally edited his secret dossier, writing in the margins, "Extremely dangerous, potential agent of Moscow." 1,400 pages of surveillance. His phone was tapped, his trash was examined, and his friends were interrogated. While he was trying to unify the laws of the universe, a ring of state paranoia was closing around him. August 39. A few paragraphs of text and one signature that will forever change the fate of civilization. He warned, the Nazis could create weapons of monstrous power. He wanted to save the world, but without knowing it, he pulled the trigger. E equals mc squared. A simple formula, once developed in quiet burn, turned into a man-made sun over Hiroshima. When he heard the news on the radio, he could only say 3 words, "Woe is me." This was the climax of his tragedy. A man who believed in the harmony of the cosmos gave humanity a tool for its self-destruction. The U.S. Army didn't even let him work on the project, considering him unreliable, but the world has already appointed him guilty. Recent years have become a desperate attempt to atone. He was looking for the God equation that could unify everything, gravity, light, and, perhaps, human chaos itself. But the universe, which he loved so much, suddenly became silent. He became a prophet of disarmament, calling on the world to stop before it is too late. But for politicians he was already just an old dreamer, whose authority was useful for posters, but harmful for a real war. He fought on two fronts, against the madness of humanity and against quantum mechanics, which he called the game of dice. He felt that the world was slipping out of his hands, becoming too complex and too cruel for one person. In his final years, he became a campus ghost. People saw him every day, an old man without socks, in a stretched sweater, who whispered something under his breath. He no longer belonged to this world, he lived in dimensions where space and time merged into a single stream, which he so desperately tried to describe in his last, unattainable equation. 1952 He is offered to become President of the State of Israel. The highest honor, power, recognition of the nation. But he shakes his head and writes a polite refusal. "I don't understand anything about people," says the man who understood how the universe was born. He chose the solitude of a researcher, realizing that politics is momentary, and equations are eternity. The night of April 18, 1955. Princeton Hospital. He asks to give him a notepad and pen. He feels that the solution to the unified field theory is somewhere nearby, behind the thin screen of sleep. He died, continuing to calculate. When the aortic aneurysm ruptured, he spoke his last words in German. The nurse on duty nearby did not speak German. The most important thought of the century has gone into silence without finding a translator. A few hours after his death, what he had forbidden in his will began. Pathologist Thomas Harvey, against the wishes of the family and the deceased himself, opened the skull and removed the brain of the genius. He could not resist the temptation to look inside the biological computer that turned the world upside down. Einstein's brain was stolen. For 40 years, the greatest brain in history traveled across America in a cider box hidden under a cooler of beer in the trunk of Harvey's old car. The scientist cut it into 240 blocks, sent fragments by mail, trying to find the physical root of genius. But microscopes were powerless. There were no formulas in these cells, there was only silence. His body was burned that same day and his ashes were scattered in a secret location over the Delaware River. He wanted to disappear, to turn into pure energy, just as his formula predicted. He did not leave a grave so that people could not worship his bones. But he did not take into account that his face would become the new face of the human mind. Today his image is that of a pop icon. The wisdom of distant galaxies in Star Wars looks through his eyes, his formula adorns the walls of universities and slums. We turned him into a kindly poster child, comfortable and safe, forgetting how frightening and radical his quest was. Every time you open a map on your phone, know that without its corrections for time warp, GPS satellites would be wrong by kilometers per day. We live inside his thoughts. We use the fruits of his genius to deliver pizza and fight wars, while his main dream, a world without borders and weapons, remains an unsolved equation. Einstein proved that time is just an illusion, and matter is frozen energy. He went his way, leaving us the keys to the doors that we are afraid to open. And today the main question is not how the universe works, but whether we have enough humanity to survive in the world that he opened for us. Are you ready to question your obvious truths the way the patent clerk did in 1905? After all, the only thing that truly prevents us from seeing the truth is our confidence that we already know it.